In the last few days, we saw one of the biggest airdrops in 2023 to the Solana ecosystem with Jito. Now, for the most people who are eligible, they've made 5 figures plus from this airdrop. So in this video, I'm going to show you a few other protocols that don't have a token in the Solana ecosystem that you should potentially try out if you want to get an airdrop. So without further ado, we're just going to jump straight in. I'm going to talk you through each of these different protocols and what you need to do. So let's just jump straight into it. First one we're going to talk about is Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is a aggregator. Essentially, you can swap one asset to another. You can set limit orders, dollar cost average, and they even have perpetuals as well. Literally, all it is, you connect your wallet, you do a swap like this, boom, you're done. You can swap kind of any asset that's really supported, really. The liquidity comes from other dexes, so Jupiter is just an aggregator. And guess what? They have actually announced an airdrop. Thankfully, I was eligible for this one. And they will have future airdrops. Perhaps you need to use some of these other features, including the perps as well, to become eligible for it. But yeah, I would recommend to continue using Jupiter for your swaps if you're in the Solana ecosystem. So Jupiter is the first one, very simple to do. I think doing as much volume as possible is only going to be a good thing. Second one is Tensor, and Tensor is the leading NFT marketplace for Solana. It has a very blur-like feel to it, and they do have rewards and this point system as well. Now, what you can do is you can buy and sell NFTs on here. It's just a marketplace. They do have their own collection, which is called Tensorians, which is 100 plus Sol floor as well, which is quite a lot. But if you go to the rewards tab, you will be able to see you do earn points for bidding on NFT collections and actually listing your NFTs for sale on here. The closer to the floor, the more points you get. So I think looking into that is a good idea, especially if you want to get a potential airdrop from Tensor, which I think is a very, very good platform, by the way. And it looks like Sol NFTs are doing pretty well now as well. No financial advice, of course. So that's pretty much Tensor. Like I said, earn points by holding and staking the Tensorian NFT collection, or just bid and sell your NFTs on here. So that's pretty much all you have to do for Tensor. Next up, we've got Drift, and Drift is a order book perpetual exchange where you can basically trade with leverage and spot as well on a bunch of different Solana altcoins. You can trade spot as well if you wanted. My advice here is really just get as much volume as you can. The more trades you do, the more fees you pay, the more open interest and the more volume you have, the better. You can trade spot too, which is a good thing. My advice is, it's a volume game. So yeah, the more you do, the better. And I think that, if you go to the lending and borrowing, they have DLP, which is basically providing liquidity. I think if you do some of those things as well, you maybe get some kind of criteria. There isn't a point system as such, but I think generally the likelihood is Drift will have a token, and I think doing as much volume across any of these altcoins, you can even trade meme coins and things like that as well if you wanted to. But I think generally the more you do, the better, and that will put you in a good place if they decide to go forward with their token. I think next one, MarginFi, one that definitely will have a token. They do have a point system as well. What is MarginFi? It is a lending and borrowing platform, currently with 250 million TVL. I think a lot of people are trying to get these points. So how do you get points? Well, for every $1 of liquidity that you provide, you get 1 point a day. And for every $1 of liquidity that you borrow, you get 4 points a day. So you can lend and borrow. You can see that lots of these assets are at high utilization right now just because everyone is doing this. But, there are still some assets that you can borrow, and they will obviously change with time as well. So yeah, you can lend some assets, borrow some assets here, and get some points. You will be getting points every single day, and we know that points mean prizes. So I think MarginFi is probably one where an airdrop is almost certainly coming. So yeah, you can use it and get some points there. Next, we have Sega, and Sega is a option protocol that has these structured products, and they are actually available on other networks as well, but we're going to focus on Solana because that's, I believe, where they first were. They also don't have a token. They have a variety of these structured products that you can basically look into. They all are different strategies, all option strategies. it's a very simple like deposit and earn kind of thing, and they'll kind of go through the product as well and kind of how it works, the underlying and the downside protection and things like that. These are usually like 1 month or so vaults, but yeah, you can deposit. You can obviously earn some income along the way if the option product goes your way. Of course, it doesn't always go your way, and so this yield isn't 100%. But yeah, you use this. Maybe Sega will have a token in future. Who knows? I think it's one that probably not as many people are focusing on. So yeah, I think it could be one for you to use as well. So that's Sega. Next, we've got Portal. Portal is basically the bridge by Wormhole. Wormhole is a technology that helps to enable cross-chain communication. It's very, very similar to Layer Zero. Wormhole is actually integrated in maybe 200 or so apps. However, they only have around 70,000 users, whereas if you compare that to Layer Zero, where there's like 3 million plus wallets obviously trying to farm Layer Zero, perhaps Wormhole might be one. Wormhole is something that I've actually talked about like 2 years ago on the channel, especially during the Terra days, because that was basically one of the ways to basically get your funds from EVM chains to Terra. Same thing can be said for Solana as well. So it's one of the only ways that you can get your funds into the Solana ecosystem. And so I think Wormhole is one that I've personally been speculating on for a number of years. Hasn't come just yet, but I think recently they have raised over $200 million. Perhaps that is the initiative that they need for a future token. So we'll have to wait and see for that. What do you need to do? I think you can either kind of use Portal or just go to Wormhole and have a look at all of the other applications that Wormhole tech is introduced within, and use a bunch of those applications. So what do you have to do for Portal? You basically send assets. This is essentially a bridge. So you can go from any of these chains. Let's say you've got some USDC on Arbitrum, you can move it over to Solana by using Portal. So yeah, stuff like that increases your volume, number of transactions. I think those are going to be the main metrics there, really. Next, we've got Phoenix, which is an order book DEX on Solana. One of the only order book DEXs as far as I'm aware. So you can basically trade assets on here as well, whether it's Solana, ETH, Pyth, Jito, Bonk. You can basically buy and sell them. They have this limit order system here, so you can put limit orders in. Again, my advice here is really do as much volume as you can, put as many limit orders in as you can. The more volume, the more fees, the better you are, really, if they end up doing a token. Next, we've got Camino. Camino is, again, this borrowing and lending platform where you can lend assets and you can borrow assets. You can supply them, you can borrow, and it's very, very similar to MarginFi in that sense. They do have these other things that you can do where you can basically leverage loop in kind of one click, which is really nice. And they do have this kind of long and short one-click exposure, which I think is also really nice. That is probably some of the things that you need to basically interact with if you want to get points, which, as you can see, are coming, and we all know points mean prizes, so I think the likelihood is that there will be a Camino token coming. Next, we've got Meteora, which have these liquidity pools, which you can provide liquidity for. There's lots to choose from. I think probably the one that I would go for is probably like a USDC USDT kind of pool. Let's see, I'm pretty sure they have that. For some reason, here you go. So like you can still earn like a decent amount in fees. I think part of this is just because of the hype around Solana right now. But yeah, I think something like this provides some liquidity, and potentially that will make you eligible. They do have these other kind of dynamic pools and vaults as well. These which basically will take your asset, let's say USDC, and they'll use it in a lot of these other Solana ecosystems, the top lending protocols, to basically give you the safest and kind of most optimized yield. So you could use multiple protocols, but whether or not that reward goes to you or not is a different question altogether. But I think Meteora, again, another protocol, no token, potentially they will have one, and you could use some of these products here to get yourself eligible for one. And then lastly, we'll talk about Zeta. Just another perpetual exchange here where you can basically select an asset, let's say Pyth, and you can use leverage to basically trade it. So yeah, nothing too exciting really to show you there. Just another place where you can trade, another place where you can build some volume, build some transaction fees, more trades probably the more likelihood that if there was a token, you'll get a bigger chunk of it. They do have a leaderboard, and they have these Z scores, which are basically for every $1 of taker volume, you basically earn one of these points. So I think you know what the game is here really. More points, more likelihood for an airdrop. There are a few other protocols which I will mention in my newsletter, so go and check that out. Leave a link in the description below, but I will be writing about them there, so you can go and check them out. But I think either way, we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different protocols that you should be trying out. My personal thoughts are that right now I think everything in Solana is a bit too hyped up. And I think everyone and our aunt seems to be wanting to farm on Solana for these potential airdrops. I'm going to be using some of these. I have been using them for a few months anyway, but I won't be putting too much effort into them. I won't be putting massive amounts of money or big chunks of my overall portfolio into some of these different apps just for an airdrop. I think just because everyone is doing it now, I think you might be better off just focusing on some of the other applications, which I'm going to do a video about in the next couple of days. So make sure you go and check that one out, because I will have some pretty good alpha there, showing you some very underused but high quality applications that I think will have an airdrop, and I think you get much more out of it there. So anyway, for those of you who love Solana, these are some of the best ones that I think you should be using nowadays. Go and use them, go and try them out. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know if there's any that you think I'm missing. I will have a few of the other Solana apps in my newsletter, so make sure you subscribe to me there. And yeah, I'll be back with plenty more content in the near future.